Mic's on, please. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Environmental Commission of the City of Cape May. We're holding our monthly meeting, and I'd like our members to have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you like to do the roll call, please?
Sure. All right, Mike Jones,
Absent.
Councilman Bonner,
Here.
Christopher, Gretchen,
Here.
Kimberly,
Here.
Randall,
Here.
Justine,
Here.
Barbara,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
Charlotte,
Here.
and myself.
And we have a copy of the minutes from April 22nd. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to those minutes? You can look them over and talk to Chris about them if you'd like, but if not, let's approve the minutes for April 22nd. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Okay. And all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Under old business, Mike generally provides us with a good planning board report, and he is out of town this week, so we'll move forward.
I'll just make a comment that I reviewed 2 applications yesterday. They were minor. One was for where Prawn is. They have approvals. They had approvals already, the final site plan approvals to renovate that building, but it seems like now they're kind of stepping back and maybe not going to do the addition of making it a 3-story townhouse. It's kind of in limbo right now, so they've just asked for additional time. I think temporarily it's proposed to be a private club, which I don't know what that means. Somebody just wants to be able to use it and hang out there, I think. So there wasn't any change based on the review that we did previously. So I said, okay, at this point, they're just asking for additional time. And then the other one was at the La Mer Hotel about additional seating outside, but reducing the number of seats inside, increasing for the summer season, like 16 seats outside. It doesn't really change anything, any footprint. So again, there was really no comments on our behalf. So those were just 2 that I looked at that I can share.
Thank you, Gretchen. Councilman Bodnar, you have a report?
Just I guess a couple matters to touch on. The nature trails. The nature trails are scheduled to be completed by mid-June, the contractor tells us. So that appears to be the target date right now, and they seem to be on target for that. I would add that for those that want to get a sneak peek at the nature trails, because they're not open right now, there's going to be a wellness walk, a city council wellness walk, wellness walk tomorrow, which actually I'll be participating in. So if anybody wants to come out and get a sneak peek of the nature trails, it's scheduled for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be meeting, I guess, near the corner of St. John and Lafayette Street. and have a chance to see the nature trails. Guess I would also add the Lafayette Street Park Phase 1. If you've gone down Lafayette, you see that they're hard at work, not just, the construction vehicles aren't there just for the nature trails, but also for the Lafayette Street Park that is being worked on, and that phase should be done by the end of June. I think the target is to have that, that phase completed by 4th of July weekend, prior to 4th of July weekend. So that's what I have for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Gretchen, do you want to talk about our ANJAC grant?
Well, I submitted a grant. Where is a copy of it? Where'd it go?
Here, I've got
I got it. I submitted a grant for ANJAC for a Cape May Gardens scavenger hunt, and it was basically a way to connect all our open spaces and parks through a simple brochure that could be put together, and then monarch butterfly signs that would be placed at the different gardens with an interactive, like, question answer type of thing. So you have to get the answer, you have to visit the garden, find the sign. It gets people to go to all of the different places. We have 12 different gardens. And yeah, there's also in the grant, there's a little extra money for plants, to print a brochure, and to buy the signs, which already exist. We can get them through the Nature Center at Cape May, and they're, weather-proof signs that will hold up. And so we submitted that. The only thing I'm not 100% sure, because I was going back and forth with the city manager, that he had to send an email, and I hope that he did.
Okay.
Is all I can say, is that he sent something back to me, but it wasn't the attachment, and I said, you have to file it to the ANJAC site. So I just would like to confirm that, but had a little bit of pushback from the garden club, to be honest with you. We just kind of butted heads a little bit. I think that they wanted us to apply for the grant to buy more plants for their gardens, and I think we talked about it here a little bit, that I can't see putting all of it into one garden. The whole idea is to get people to visit all of these open spaces. And so anyway, that's where we are. It was submitted. You're supposed to find out very soon, by June 1st. So I think after this week, we may know.
Well, it was a highly creative and inclusive grant. Thank you so much. I know how much work goes into, trying to create these grants. It's not a day exercise at all. And this grant in particular, getting we all and the tourists to the various sites to see that Cape May cares so much that we have created enough gardens around town to try to feed the butterflies and the birds, and that's a tremendous example for the public and for us as well. Thank you very much, Gretchen.
I just want to add that's I talked to a couple people for letters of support, and there's this feeling out there, some people like, oh, well, we don't really have parks. People have said that, and there's feedback I've gotten from people like, what parks? We don't have parks. Apparently it was in Cape May Magazine about, like, that we don't really have parks and how exciting it is maybe to have the Lafayette Street Park, but we have a lot of open space. And then a few people that I've talked to, I would mention things like the water tower garden, and like, well, where's that? I never noticed that. And it's like, It's just to bring attention. Sometimes, you know, we could do a better job of highlighting these places. So maybe if we get the grant, that's one way to do that, but maybe there's another way we can, you know, it's very exciting what's happening with the nature trail and what's going to happen at Harbor View Park with the emphasis of native plants and all of that. So it's something I think as a commission that we should be looking at. Maybe we do some type of public information campaign to get it out. Maybe walks happen in the different parks, you know, with city council doing let's visit the different places.
So if I could just jump on Gretchen's comments for a moment, couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's one of the reasons why, is when I had a chance to do the wellness walk and to pick the location that I wanted to walk. I mean, look, everybody loves the promenade. It's fantastic, but the idea is give a chance to see some other places too. And part of it was, as much as I want to get out there and see the new nature trails as well, I think other people are excited about it. We want to promote that as well. And I think that, that feedback that you're hearing about, that Cape May doesn't have parks is kind of well, I'm not even sure where that's coming from.
I know,
They're
it's just a few people.
a,
It's not everybody, but
yeah.
it's,
But, I mean, as you said, Harbor View Park is going to be amazing and that project is scheduled to be done just this fall. And when that's completed, I think the city's committed to kind of, promoting that as well, simply because it's going to be another showcase. I know that it's not necessarily a park, but one of the things I meant to add is with the beach mats that Cape May has, is such a unique compared to any other community, and we've extended the beach mats as well now that they go the full length of the promenade. That project has been completed for this year. So I think the city has been promoting those more. I think Lafayette Street Park as well, when it gets done and it's an area for people to use. Yeah, the city definitely needs to promote that. If nothing else, it's all part of the commitment to. This is in this time of year, where do you want to be? Outside. So we want to encourage people to do that and utilize all of that. So, and also from an educational standpoint, we have these plants. We have such a habitat, friendly area down here too. And from the education standpoint, we need to kick that up, just like you and I talked about the other day as well.
mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. And it's interesting that we do have some parks that are not even labeled. For example, Cape May Avenue is a park, and it's restricted, and yet some people feel that would be a place to park cars. And so I think we should probably dig out that information, and I will, so that maybe a little signage there would let people know. And certainly our Shade Tree Commission has been active in making certain that just the most beautiful trees are there to support the birds. So that's just a little aside. Thank you. David, do you want to go next, or?
Yeah, sure. So I hand out the paper to everybody. It's for, so we do this Mayor's Monarch Pledge, and that's through National Wildlife Federation. This year, I was allowed to choose, I think, the topics. And I apologize, I'm not sure how involved the Environmental Commission was in previous years, but I think this would be a good start going forward. So essentially, we got to pick a couple different topics, different goals, and we want to adhere to them to keep our Monarch Pledge certificate. So I highlighted the 5 that I chose for this year, and I was just hoping y'all can take a look at it, and then maybe we can fit those into a program. Harborfest would be great. Gretchen's to talk about planting native flowers throughout the city here. That also adheres to some of the 5 that I picked here. So I was just hoping for feedback, if it's not today, later on, about what maybe we can do to get this completed. January 1st through January 1st, so we have the whole summer, fall to complete this too. Dune plan would be another great thing. At the end of last year, when we did this, we put the dune planning towards the goal. The same thing with Harbor Fest when we had the tables at the Nature Center. Working, I believe, in conjunction with the Nature Center on, I think it was like maybe butterfly crafts or releasing butterflies, things like that. So I think I'm just asking if you guys can take a look at them and see if there's something we can do as a committee or just as a city to kind of adhere to those highlight areas. So.
Gretchen, will there be a Monarch Fest?
Yes.
Yes, we don't have the dates
I
yet.
I can tell you when it always is. September 28th.
And how about Harbor Fest?
That's June 28th.
June 28th?
So, yeah, I just asked, I don't know if Harbor Fest kind of came up sort of quickly, that they're going to do it again. I had talked to Emily Reed at the Nature Center, and I don't know how much planning she's been able to do. And then last year, we tried to make like a fair within a fair, kind of. So I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the Environmental Commission had a table.
Right.
We had two.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about it later on, but might as well talk right now. So I did talk to the organizers of Harbor Fest, not Monarch, obviously, but for Harbor Fest. And if we want to continue to have tables there, that's fine. They said we can have as many tables as we want there. So if you want to do a couple tables at Harbor Fest, that's fine also. I did reach out to Emily to see if we can have a table back on the grounds there for their section. I haven't heard back from you yet, but that was just, I think, Friday last week, so the weekend holiday, I get it, so.
Thank you for,
Yeah, so if you want some tables, just let me know, and you can have as many as you want. So.
okay. All right, we appreciate the support. Thank you, David.
Well, I guess we have to decide, though, because it's
Yeah.
a month away.
And last year, our focus was like community solar.
That was
So I wanted to
wonderful.
focus on, yeah.
People really, really, really enjoyed seeing that solar panel last year.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and the questions that they had about it, Sarah, it was a real seller. It was something that they finally could maybe see, that they don't notice on a building. And a lot of good questions, don't you think? Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And these highlighted areas also would be something maybe good to do on the tables for the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. So if you want to do a table that kind of focus on that also, like I said, we can have many tables at one. I'm planning on manning a table. But that'd be a nice way to just kind of get those projects done, so, with the table.
would you think that you'd want to be able to loan that again or not? Yeah?
Is it still at the
It's
center?
still at the
I
center.
think it is.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
so.
well, how many of you would still be interested in being a participant in that Harbor Fest? And
I think I'd be able to. I have to check, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
I'm pretty sure I can.
well, we still have a little time, but
So you probably have to say soon, right?
if you put it on your calendar,
Saturday.
I mean, it doesn't have to be too soon.
okay.
I thought
It'll be
it was-
nice to get some kind of plan put together for what you want to do at the tables. I think that would be
Right.
the, if you want to get literature made up,
Yeah, we'll have to print things if we want them printed.
things like that, I think that's going to be the most time-consuming part. Getting the tables isn't going to be the issue, it's just getting the presentations together and.
I have to say that in terms of solar use in the city of Cape May, the first building that our city had solar attached to it was the lifeguard station downtown. That was years and years ago when Mayor Enderweis was probably the year 2000 or something like that. It was the first usable site, in that they felt they were along the beach and they were going to get really great sun rays. So then, of course, we have solar then for our, I guess, our desal plant. And I'm hoping that the city can, expedite that to 10 times the amount that they have now, if not more. I don't know how far along the new desal plant is coming. Have you heard anything at all?
Still working on the designs for it, but I know that energy costs are a significant factor with the desal plant, and the answer to that is yes. They're absolutely taking into consideration to maximize the use of solar power. So it's a constantly in the mind of those that are working on the project, and so I expect that that's going to be a significant it's a significant part of it as far as with the energy use.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I do know that our school Lafayette Street School has a little bit of solar, but I was hoping as they needed a new roof that they would be able to expand and put even more solar. I'm not sure. I don't have any follow-up on that. But I know the Nature Center has some solar, and does that need replacing, or?
That's a good question. It's 18 years now. So, yeah.
Weren't we very fortunate to have an advocate in Harley Schuler?
Yeah.
Harley Schuler just passed, and we're very, very lucky, I think, in this community to have enough people who pay attention to what's going on in various segments. And Harley was an engineer and came to the Nature Center and offered some of his resources for our solar initially. But obviously, we need more. Let's see.
Charlotte, if I could add, there's solar panels on the roof of this building as well. So City Hall has
That's right.
has solar panels on it.
That just happened a couple years ago, didn't it?
I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but I've had an opportunity to see them firsthand, so I know they're up there.
Fabulous. That's great. This is good news. But today, I am moving along, I guess, to a topic that I've thought about, and I've called it stewardship and the natural world. And I've thought about our national parks as a kickoff for this. We certainly have Theodore Roosevelt as our 26th President of the United States from 1901 to 1909. And he was a very noted conservationist and a man of action. During his presidency, he established 230 million acres of public lands. And that was between 1901 and 1909. This also included 150 national forests and 55 federal bird reserves, game reserves, 5 national parks, and 18 national monuments. So I'd like to elaborate a little bit on Teddy's life. Theodore Roosevelt was born on October 27th, 1858 in Manhattan. His youth was shaped by his poor health, of all things. He had debilitating asthma attacks that terrified him and his parents. And for the doctors at that time, they didn't seem to have a cure. Nevertheless, he was energetic, mischievous, inquisitive. His lifelong interest was in zoology, and beginning at the age of 7, he saw a dead seal at a market and obtained the seal's head. Roosevelt and his cousin formed the Roosevelt Museum of Natural History when he was only 9 years old. And he wrote a paper called The Natural History of Insects. In September 1876, he entered Harvard College. His father instructed him to take care of his morals and his studies, but he did inherit, at the end of that, a comfortable living for the rest of his life. As a Harvard-educated New Yorker, Roosevelt was deeply inspired by nature and the Western frontier. A lifelong hunter and explorer, he continued into the wilderness for renewal. From the backwoods of Maine to the Dakota Badlands, to an unmapped river in the wilds of Brazil, his youth and early education often pursued the strenuous life. His relationship to nature took on almost spiritual quality. Once elected as president, Teddy Roosevelt became sympathetic ear to nature and a man of action. As president, he cultivated friendships of conservationists like John Muir and Pinchot. He also inspired in him a transformation of reverence for nature, and he turned it into national policy while he was president. A nation that behaves well and treats its natural resources well is an asset. In the mid-19th century, natural resources were heavily exploited, especially in the West. Land speculators and developers took over large tracts of forest and grazing land. Acreage important to water power was seized by private concerns. Mining companies practiced improper and wasteful mining. Assuming a seemingly inexhaustible supply of natural resources, Americans at that time developed a tradition of waste. Not so different from today, I would assume. However, Theodore Roosevelt is known as our conservation president for his undaunted efforts. And in the 20th century, he did shield wildlife and public lands from development. His efforts helped establish America's National Park and Forestry Services, putting more than 200 million of acre under public protection. Theodore Roosevelt created 5 national parks. He established 18 national monuments and 150 national forests and more. And I would like to mention to you all that here in the city of Cape May, we are protected in 2 places by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And one area is at Cape May Harbor, and the other area is the Sewell Tract. We got a letter from Fish, Game, and Wildlife back in 1989, 1890, that Fish, Game, and Wildlife said that the Sewell Tract should be preserved, without a doubt. So that happens to feed right into our national park services. And if you want to look at some of the areas that are protected, it's pretty wonderful that we have a map such as this that shows you all of the areas that are protected here. And the one area that is visited the most is the one in the Smoky Mountains. So it's close enough by, if you're traveling down the highway to Tennessee and North Carolina, that you can get to the Smoky Mountains and the Appalachian Trail and walk it if you like. Not today, but maybe another day. I'm so proud of the fact that we were wise enough at this point to protect these particular areas. I am somewhat fearful that they may not stay protected, so that's why I'm bringing them to your attention today. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
So there's a gentleman, Doug Ptolemy, a professor from the University of Delaware, who's on the forefront of the effort to encourage people to plant natives in their home landscapes. And he has this movement called the Homegrown National Parks. And it's basically that, recognizing these important sacred places, but how we can make a difference in our own backyard. He recently did a presentation at the Cape May Point Science Center. I missed it, but I don't know if anybody else had a chance to go to it. And I forgot, there was an article in the New York Times Sunday edition maybe 2 weeks ago about him. And what he's proposing is that it's not that you have to do everything. You don't have to make a total changeover in your home landscape if you have non-native species. He's kind of come to this 70-30 rule, where if you can try to emphasize 70% native plants and 30% non-native, just as long as they're not problem plants like invasive species or aggressive plants. But it's just something that we should all be aware of, and maybe, again, as a commission, we could be promoting a little bit more of this. We do it, we review plans, we make suggestions, we have a recommended list of native plant species, but I don't know how we can maybe take it up a notch more and really join this movement of the Homegrown National Park. We can make a difference in our community.
Aren't we able, under New Jersey Audubon, to supply signs that congratulate people who do that in their yards?
They're not doing that anymore, but through the National Wildlife Federation, they are. So it's not New Jersey Audubon, but it's NWF that does those signs.
How do we get more involved in that?
Well, interestingly, we certified the Cape Island as a wildlife-friendly habitat, and it has to be renewed every 5 years, and I feel like it's probably due for that. I mean, I did that when I used to work at the center. I did Evelyn Lovitz, who used to be on the commission, and I put together that application, say, a dozen years ago. Then we had to renew it 5 years later. It must be up for renewal. And part of that is you have to show certain points that your community is on board. You have so many schools, so many businesses, so many homeowners that, take the pledge and basically commit to landscape using native species and things that benefit wildlife. So I don't know, I can reach out and check to see where that renewal is, but we were the second or third community in New Jersey that got that certification. But you have to, it has to be active, like, you have to look at the application every 5 years to renew. So I'm not really sure where it is in the renewal.
Is there anybody on the commission who'd like to work with Gretchen on this? Because I think about our green team purposes as well. The green team will be, trying to list the types of activities that we engage in from year to year. And last year, we submitted it, and we did really well, but there isn't a green team this year. I think it will be happening again next year. So if anyone, if you could let Gretchen know if you have time to go with her and find out where it is.
I'll make some phone calls, and at our next meeting, I can give you a report on the
Yeah.
status and try to, I'm not 100% even familiar with this whole homegrown national park effort. I know it's a national effort that has started. I'll educate myself a little bit more about that and see how it could apply. It might tie into the mayor's Monarch Pledge and other things that we're trying to do, highlighting the gardens. It's all connected, but I'm just
So
throwing.
who certifies them? I'm sorry. So is it somebody with national?
National Wildlife Federation, to
Did-
be a certified wildlife habitat, it's a self-certification process.
And you submit that paperwork to them, and then
To
they
them.
approve it, and then they, okay.
Correct. New Jersey Audubon is a state affiliate of National Wildlife Federation, but it's not New Jersey Audubon's program, it's NWF's program. We just help administer it. And honestly, I don't know the status. The last I heard, the person who was doing that for New Jersey Audubon is no longer with them, and I think part of it could be a funding issue. So I don't know what's going on with that. It was a partnership. We helped deliver the program for them in the state of New Jersey, so I'm sure the program still exists, but
I just wonder if like a citizen would be able to work with them to certify.
yes. Yeah, you can go online right now on NWF's website,
So like a citizen could,
certify themselves.
and they could also certify other people underneath the statutes of the Wildlife Federation then. So they can
Yeah.
work in conjunction with them and then with,
It's like it's a $25 application fee. You certify your own property. You have to go through this questionnaire that you've done these measures to provide habitat. You get a certificate. If for like $50 more, you can get the plaque and put it in your yard. But you don't have to do all that. When New Jersey Audubon was managing that program, there may have been something like, instead of $25, it was $20, and then New Jersey Audubon got $5 of that. We just encouraged people to participate. And then on top of that, we helped communities become a community certified habitat. And that's what we did in Cape May. But Cape May was actually Cape Island. So it was the first community that was more than one town. It was West Cape May Point, Cape May City, and parts of Lower Township. So anyway, I'm not sure what the status is, other than the person I know who was doing it is no longer with New Jersey Audubon. I can make some phone calls, and I can come back and tell you, what that status is, and I'll just, next meeting.
It sounds as if, to me, that the grant that we've applied for through ANJAC is a perfect feed-in to these signs as well. I mean, if, our city then would have some of these markers, so it's a feather in Cape May's cap, I think, to have the obvious for the visitors and for all of us as well. So, thank you, Gretchen.
If I could just add, if there is a community certification, yeah, that would be, especially if it's up for renewal, it'd be a shame to let that lapse without us looking into that. I think we should, if there's a way, we should look into that. Because I guess you can always reapply, but it seems like that's the laboring war to start over, and we shouldn't have to if that's the case. So if there's a way to, whatever information that we can get and take whatever steps we can to address renewal, if that is, if we're up on that.
Yeah, and the city has done more towards it, like points towards it with the parks improvements and an emphasis on like even the dune, everything that's been done. There's more we can do,
Yep.
too. So,
Do you want to continue on with the citywide yard?
so I love a good yard sale, I admit. And I went with my friends to the West Cape May yard sales a couple weekends ago. And I noticed that it said sponsored by the Environmental Commission, the citywide yard sales. Now, I don't know what that means. Like, if you're a homeowner, do you have to register? Do you pay your yard sale fee? I don't know what they do, other than they just help promote it with the idea. Interestingly, too, my sister-in-law, who is a thrifter, and she resells like antique, mid-century modern pieces. She sent me this article about with the tariffs, maybe the whole thing of thrifting and antiques and things like that are not impacted by tariffs are going to just go crazy. But I don't know if that's something that we want to look at, just encouraging people to reuse, repurpose, instead of buying new all the time. Is that something, I know Cape May City is a different place than West Cape May, but is that something that we want to look at? We can, we'd have to go through city administration to see how that would work. And we also have to think about what else is going on in town with traffic. I'm just putting it out there, what your thoughts are.
Well, certainly, I don't think we're finished with clothing. So, I mean, next meeting, we can look into that as well. But,
Well, we can talk about it, put some thought to it, like when do you think this would be a good time that doesn't conflict with other things going on in town? And then we can present that to the city manager or council to see if that's something that they'd be supporting.
and interestingly, you talked about the West Cape May Environmental Commission. It has been my hope over the years that, I know we're all really busy, but it would be fabulous if we could work together here on the island. And certainly Cape May Point, if they have time too. So a project like used clothing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we could do it the same weekend as theirs. It was the same weekend as the Coast Guard Community Festival, the birding event. I don't know what else was going on in town on the 17th. But, I think they do one in the fall too, so. I'll make some calls. I can reach out to the West Cape May Environmental Commission and find out, like, by them sponsoring it, what does that mean? What do they do?
Thank you, Gretchen.
Okay.
Maybe they enable residents to not have to fill out the
temporary event, like vendor forms. I know that a lot of municipalities require people who are having yard sales to submit paperwork, getting permission to do so. So maybe that is,
Streamline it somehow. And they have a master list of all of the addresses of where there's a yard sale.
There's usually an after effect of large bulk trash.
Right.
pickup, too, afterwards.
Right.
Do you think off-season is best, or something when visitors are?
You
Yeah,
know, pros and cons.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people do them, like this weekend, and 4th of July weekend, people tend to do them, but, I don't know.
Well, it's a good thing to look into. Thank you. David, do you want to talk to us about a couple of things?
Yeah, so just a reminder that our next clean community is going to be June 19th, Grant Street. Unfortunately, our May 1, we got hit by a little rainstorm. We got hit by a little bit of a rainstorm on the May 1, so June 19th is going to be our next one.
What's the time?
And it's from 3 to 5. I'm sorry, it's right there at the beach entrance.
Okay.
So please come out if you can.
And then you talked here about two other items.
Yes, dark skies. We touched on it shortly the other day, the last meeting, about maybe perhaps having it at the nature trail. So I just want to see if there's any more thought in it, or if anybody would like to still continue to do it, or look into it, because there's going to be some planning involved for sure with running that event, just to kind of keep it on the burner.
I don't know if there's any of the astronomers that you had come out with their scopes once the trail is open, if they went out there to see what the potential is, because it's always light pollution is a problem. I mean, it was great on the deck at the convention center, and we can still do it there, but maybe we don't have to pick the location 100%, or maybe you do for convention hall, you have to reserve.
Well,
your-
yeah, but I think
your
last
dates.
time we were even talking about maybe not using as much telescopes and more of like, I guess on the nature end with like migrations and birds and kind of, that's always another option. Doesn't have to be telescopes.
Yeah.
Or it can be. We can get generators, there's some things we can work with for sure, but I just want to keep that conversation going
Yeah,
for planning purposes.
well, I don't know, just reach out to them and say, hey, go out. I don't know, is the nature trail open at night, or is it gonna be posted that you can't walk out there?
It's open. It'll be open at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to see if
Okay.
it's good out there, and then, because then, obviously, if it's bad weather, that's a problem,
Yeah.
but,
Based on the, excuse me, based on the attendance last year, I think it's worth doing it again, for sure. So we should start planning it, and then we can always decide.
And is there a report on the water audit and the DeSalle plant?
I just want to touch on that right now. The report, the final briefing, and the recording's all official on the city website right now. So if you go to the department's tab on city's website, and you go to water sewage, there would be all the links right here, so anybody can access it for all these reports to view, so.
in terms of the next steps for the potential implementation of the official recommendations, it would be really wonderful if, as a commission, we did watch the presentation and read the report. Councilman Bodnar and I were in the meeting where Columbia delivered it to the city, but then it was subsequently made public. And I think the Environmental Commission does have a role to play in seeing this all come to fruition. So the Sustainability Management Team was broken into 4 committees: hydrology, finance, demand, and what was the other one?
Circulation, was that the 4th area?
Yeah. So each group had a series of recommendations that were focused towards their specialty. For instance, the hydrology team had recommended energy recapture devices for the new desal plant, which would make it incredibly more efficient than it currently is, reducing operating costs, and increasing the longevity of the facility itself, et cetera. But all of that information is available in detail in the presentation and the report. In terms of the demand committee, there were recommendations made for a rebate program and a tiered water pricing system. The city manager in preliminary meetings had identified those potentials as areas of interest for council and the city management as potential solutions that we could actually implement that would make a big difference. So in terms of the Environmental Commission and what we may be able to do, I think it would be to go to council, follow up on these potential programs, and start creating a plan on how we can introduce them to the community.
Justine, when would you feel comfortable about going to council with the information? And how many of us would you like to, participate, or could you lead it, or?
I'm happy to be a leader on that subcommittee because I'm very familiar with it. I've attended probably 6 meetings with that subcommittee. But I do think that a collaborative approach would be most effective, and having conversations beforehand would be fantastic. I think there will be a lot of people in the business community who are not happy about some of these suggestions, but that when they realize that their commercial enterprises ultimately will save money on their water bills, that we can win everyone over, but it's going to take quite an effort.
But we need step 1.
We do. And for instance, the demand team created a rebate program template that essentially plugged in some numbers for something like $150,000 rebate program where the city reimburses hotels, restaurants for the installation of low-flow toilets, showers. The city can save millions, and within a certain number of years, very few years, the actual business is also saving a lot of money on their water bills. So it's in everyone's best interest, but it's change, and it's scary for people who think that, oh, the price per gallon of our water is going up. So we need to create a best plan for how to engage with the public.
So as far as the presentation itself, are you thinking to boil it down? Because the report is very well done. I thought very, very thorough, is excellent. At the same time, it is 70 pages long or so. So it's a read. It's a deep read. Are you looking to take don't want to say the highlights, but boil it down to the real particulars you think that could be put forth in, say, like a 15-minute presentation? Because I think that's, if you're going to do a presentation, that's the most effective way to do it, is in a period of time, that type of time window, and then build out from there. But I guess I'm just trying to get a sense as far as
I
what
don't
you're
know.
thinking.
Do you think that it makes sense for the commission to give a presentation to council on each of the 4 areas? Or do you think it makes sense for us as a commission to just focus on that rebate program and tiered pricing system?
I would need to think about that.
Okay.
Hadn't, I think it's an interesting idea. I just want to make sure, and I'm sure, the whole point of this is to get maximum impact, with that focus on the issues that we want to focus on as groups. I would actually need to think about that, which I guess we can do, and we can have further conversations on that.
Yeah.
I mean, the one aspect of it is, with the design of the plant, we have the ability to have that time and to have that conversation at this point in time, to have a presentation and still be able to have an impact. So we could, I guess the question would be, who else, and you've done a significant amount of work, appreciate all the work you've done, being in on the meetings, working on the audit, working with the Columbia team and being available for that. But I think we're certainly better as a group if we get a broader group of folks being involved here as well. So I guess I'll throw that out there as far as whether others would, who else would be interested in getting involved with that.
I think it would be great if we had a big group working together on this. So maybe, because there are some council members that don't know that there were 4 committees and 4 different areas of recommendation. So maybe an overview presentation that's even 5 to 8 minutes and just takes the top 3 recommendations from each section. And then we as a commission hone in on the demand reduction programs.
So I think we could talk about it a little bit more, but I think within the report, the framework is there for us to be able to pull pieces out as far as what would be, I think, of best use for council as well as for the community. Because look, as we know, and the report's fantastic. I'm glad we have it posted on the city website, but it doesn't hurt to have it presented in another manner as well, by us taking that work and a presentation being done for the public as well. Because that's a big piece of this, is the public understanding where these ideas are coming from and how they're useful for the city and how they're going to provide a financial impact, residents as well as obviously the commercial businesses, which one of the things we learned was how significant, not that we didn't already know, how significant the impact of commercial businesses on the desal plant, but it really came into focus with some of the research that was done.
It was incredible. I assisted that team with identifying the accounts and addresses and created a spreadsheet of the top 250 users, and it's hotel restaurants. And most of those properties have 3, 4, 5 water accounts themselves. So they're definitely going to have a lot of opinions, understandably, makes sense.
They will, but one of the things I liked as well about the work that was done is they also, the team identified cost savings for, for the larger water users as well. I'm sure, look, commercial entities, they have some awareness of this, but they're probably looking at, for the most part, work on a day-to-day basis. How deep are they doing their own water use analysis This is probably something a lot different than the type of research they would have done. And I think that, when you're able to look at the numbers that I think are backed up by, the research that was done and their actual use, we can actually have a conversation with people beyond just theory and to say, this would be an actual cost savings for this particular business or that particular business. And it's, I think that's a big part of the conversation.
As
So-
the commission members listen to the conversation, is there someone who would like to work and knows right now that they have a little time to spare for this very important presentation for council and work with Justine?
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Well, the
me
first thing
as
I
well.
want to do is look at obviously the website and see the video and see and certainly would be willing to help, yeah.
I think maybe we should target like early fall. There's not a big rush. Everything is so hectic right now. There's just a lot going on. The report isn't going anywhere. I think it's best to be amply prepared.
I agree. I think that once the summer gets going, people are going to be, it's going to get lost in the shuffle. I think there's a greater opportunity for that. I think if we have this conversation early fall, we haven't lost anything because of through time. We haven't lost any opportunity there, and I agree. I think it gives everybody the opportunity that wants to get involved to get up to speed on the report. Candidly, you can hit the ground running, and you have the knowledge that goes with it. Had a chance to be involved in all those meetings as well, and there's no doubt about it. There's a learning curve that goes with reading through the report, and I had a learning curve going through the entire process. So I think that's a good goal that for the fall to put together a good presentation, and kind of at that point in the season, we'll also probably have a window there where people will be able to look back, especially some folks if they've seen their water bills over the course of the summer, and this might have actually a little bit of a little bit more meaning for them at that point in time as well. So I think we could talk about a specific date once we start moving forward with this. Obviously, I'll talk with you about this as well.
Great.
But I think would certainly welcome other members in getting involved in this as well.
And I think lastly,
Oh, I just brought
I think you should,
some flyers, the upcoming fundraiser for the Nature Center at Cape May, the Canal Fest, Catch of Cape May, is June 22nd. And here's a flyer about it. Any more details, you can reach out to the Nature Center, go online, buy your tickets. There's, buy a ticket, you can buy a table, but I just grabbed some flyers about, I was there last week.
I have a small announcement having to do with the Nature Center. And years and years ago, when my grandchildren were at the Nature Center helping, and we have such an amazing hands-on group of young teens that help us. There happened to be a young teen that I met just this weekend, and she is now a doctor, and she was a part of our team of teenagers at the cash register and talking to people about nature. And she introduced me to her husband and their 6-month-old little girl, and she said, "Mrs. Todd, this is the next volunteer at the Nature Center." So it was quite a sweet little proposal, but very, very happy that that's continuing on. It's so important to instill these tangibles, fun with a purpose. Thank you.
I know, I can't wait. I got one more year for my grandson to be able to go to the nature center
Junior
classes.
intern.
He keeps on calling it Gigi's work, though, and I was like, I don't work there anymore. It's not my work.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.